also want your customer to grow through your service and products. You don't want them to keep them small, so they stay forever your customer. For example, when I work with my Power Woman entrepreneur, I want them to maximize their potential. Even if that means that they're going to stop because I'm self-empower them. So that means at some point of time, they will have all the tools that they need to go through this further transformation without me. And I'm fine. And I'm completely fine with it. And I grow with this also.
And how do we communicate? How do we interact with other individuals? That's the self-awareness that we need to put in every aspect of our lives, including at work. So if you're the employee and you feel like you have more to give, don't go with the mindset that they owe you something. Don't go there. Don't go with a mindset, I need to prove them wrong. Don't go with a mindset of being frustrated. Go with a mindset of the infinite possibilities of what you can be.
Welcome to the Alchemy of Success podcast.
And today's topic is the importance of growth, both in your career and in your personal life. Now, we were talking about leadership the other day, right? So why is leadership important? But also, we're going to dive into more the different aspects of leadership and growth, understanding growth, both in your personal and your professional life is one of those aspects. So you could actually rally the troops around you and actually create that beautiful and welcoming and fostering environment so the employees can grow. And therefore, you are able to be successful, accomplishing your goals, and the company is successful. But also the employees can be successful and take that feeling of being recognized, being supported back at home as well. That's a good feeling to take back at home. So we're going to dive into really why is it so important to understand what growth really means in a corporate setting and obviously in your personal life. So to start, Anna will actually dive into growth itself. Like what does it really mean at the most human level? Anna, go ahead, take it away.
Perfect. I just want to say something. This topic is also, if you're not a leader, but you're an employee, is also this episode for you to understand why growth is so crucial for you in any aspect of your life. And like Pedro said, I want to talk a little about our nature as a human. And we as a human nation or beings, we have a different traits. We have a different characteristic. And one of our characteristics is to grow. Because what I learned is if you don't grow, you die. Look, for example, a tree. A tree never stops growing till it dies. Look at the animals. They never stop doing it. And the human is the only, living being on this earth that can consciously decide whether it want to grow or it want to stop growing. But I can tell you something from my personal experience and from the experience with many, many people that I have communicated and encountered throughout my life is that the person who stopped growing is actually dying. And even if we still live and breathe and eat, inside you are dying. So that's why it's so important. Doesn't matter whether you're a company owner, doesn't matter whether you're a manager or a leader in a company or you have your own, solopreneurship. The moment, or your employer, the moment you start working with one more person than you yourself, you need to learn why it's so important to support your team members to grow and you also. And Pedro, maybe you can share a little why sometimes company feels challenged around the topic of growth and talent development, or what are the challenges as you were, working on a C-level, leadership level, and you said when you joined some of the companies, you needed to create restructuring. So that means you experience a lot of these areas very, very directly.
Mm-hmm. So one of the important things of why a company should be focused on employee growth And employee growth could mean many different things. So let's look through a couple of different definitions of that. Employee growth is not only moving from one title to another in an ascension process, right? It's also how are they better at their jobs and more sufficient and efficient, right? And how happy are they? Because usually high morale also generates higher productivity for the employer, right? So employee growth means giving them the tools to be successful, not only in executing what they need to be doing to fulfill your goals as the organization, but also giving them the tools that they're able to manage their work life. And therefore, some of those tools can be brought into their personal life, making them a little bit more happier, right? You don't want any burnout. You try to avoid burnout as much as you can. You want to create the environment where they're able to communicate without fear to their superiors, right? To their managers and to whatever level you belong to. But they also want to make sure that you are creating that environment that you allow these future leaders in the organization, no matter what role they're playing, understanding that they are all important and they all can play a leadership role within their own facet of their departments and whatever they're doing there in regards to the responsibilities. So employee growth for an organization means how do we cultivate that environment, allowing people to be the best version of themselves, right? And deliver the best product, meaning the best things that they can in their own skill sets and their own abilities, right? And therefore, if they do that, therefore the company also grows. So you can't have one without the other, right? So let's talk about the constraints of some of these organizations. Why, unfortunately, they don't invest as much as they should in these type of programs. One, it could be a cost constraint, right? So it's always about, unfortunately, tends to be about the bottom line, right? Where do we restrict? Where do we pull additional funds into somewhere else, into some other different initiative? But if they actually step back and they start looking at the productivity of the employee, when you foster that kind of environment, you get a more efficient person, dedicated. And this is the key word, dedicated to the success of your organization, right? Therefore, you also lower attrition, which is also a cost to the organization. So employee growth, one of the constraints is really the bottom line, investing in a program like that, right? Because it means hiring different people, coming to mentor, right? Tutors, and putting hours that are not involved into executing a task into something that's not directly involved to that output. So that's one. The second one is actually adopting the culture. This is a cultural initiative. It goes from all the way from the top. The CEO has to believe in this. It's not just the people that report to him or work with him. It's literally everybody at the executive level all the way down needs to believe in it. Because if they don't believe in it, then you lose the energy, the momentum, and the drive to actually execute this program that will have results, will have benefits, but they have to believe in it. So fortunately, a lot of people don't. So it's really falling and the managers at the mid level and maybe senior level, but at the mid level, at the lower levels, right? It falls on them to drive the culture, but it only goes so far. So it's really one of the biggest constraints is also how much do they believe into this initiative of how important growth really is for their organization. Okay. And number 3 is not only at the top, but it's also the adoption level. How good is our program that it could be easily adopted, easily communicated to everyone within the organization that motivates them to actually go ahead and put these extra hours of employee self-growth within the organization that will actually allow them to see the benefits, right? So these are some of the constraints that organizations unfortunately have when they start thinking about what does it really mean? How much does it cost me? What does growth actually mean to my bottom line? So some of the benefits, as you can imagine, that I've personally experienced when I'm invested in my employee, okay, when I'm invested in the people that report to me and that I work alongside with, I see a much higher engagement. I see passion. I see creativity. I see drive. I see amazing, amazing output. And even if you have to work long hours, sometimes the time absolutely does fly. Why? Because they're engaged and they're passionate about what they're doing. So they're growing, they're learning new skill sets, they're learning something new, right? because they're investing that time to really explore what they need to be doing and maybe start exploring a little bit about themselves as well. But when I know that I've had this kind of mindset, I've seen amazing results from my staff, 100%. And when I talk to my peers, and I talk to them about this and how I've done it, right? Because they're curious. Okay, how do you have such a very tight unit, very efficient, always delivering above goals? This is one of my key secrets. And we go back to the word empathy. The reason I'm so attached to the growth of the employee is because I empathize that they too have the same abilities I do. They too have the same feelings as I do. This is how we work as a unit, right? So that's one of the benefits alone from growth and investing in growth. And this is what happens to the organizations. And I could go into a lot more, but this is one of the main ones.
Very good. Really, really good on point. I'd like to add just to this something that I have personally experienced, as the moment when I wasn't someone leading a team, but actually, been led by a manager, is that my personal experience was that sometimes, depending on how the structure in a company and an organization is, that some manager have so tight goals that they, need the good employee, and they try to keep the good employee at this position as they had it in order to be able to deliver it over quarters and quarters and quarters. And they're scared to really allow these people to expand and grow, and maybe to find out that a different talents and a different capabilities are hidden within the people within the team. So when they develop this, they can maybe decide to move departments. They can maybe decide to go higher on the career. And that is something, like Pedro said, need to become a very clear part of the culture, that the growth of employees is so important, because the growth of every single person means the growth of the company, and it doesn't mean the growth from just one department or one manager position or one leadership. So that means the people, from my point of view, who are taking this position as a manager, as a leader, they need to be aware that it's not an ego-driven position. As a leader, you need to be able to see the strength in your teams and to be open to force and support the growth of this. And I remember when I had my team and I started working, and I realized that part of my teams had a different skill set, that they wasn't able to expand so much at the position they were. I started creating a different combination of how they can explore their skills. And of course, one of the follow-up was that some of the team members switch position, but at the end, the company wins. And when you create this win-win situation, when you create this deeper understanding, and I think that's more about the feminine traits, it's more about me being in this feminine energy, like nurturing and really seeing, because normally as a mom, because like we said in the last episode, how you do anything is how you do everything. Moms normally, they always want to see their babies growing, expanding, getting better and better. And that's also the same, Of course, we don't see the employees as the babies, but what I mean is you see this potential in the people. You see their talents and you see their capability, and give them the possibility to expand instead of holding them small. Because as I shared at the beginning, that is one of the most natural traits as a human being. And if we try to stop the growing and expansion of a person, that's what most probably happens, is they're going to quit the company. And I think that is one of the area where also companies is a little scared about investing way too much resources in time and money, in their employees, because they think, when I develop way too much my employees, and they can then switch companies, they can go somewhere else. And that means I did all the work and I put all the effort there, and they are gone. But I can promise you something. the highest probability to lose a good employee is not when you give the employee the possibility to develop and expand and explore more what kind of traits and talents they have, but it's the opposite. Because I tend to say one sentence when I was working for corporates, and that is, people never quit the company. They always quit the manager.
That's
And that is
100%
so important. And that
so
is
true.
so important, you know, but it's also important. Today's topics is not only if you're the manager, if you're the leader, or if you're the CEO, but for you as an employee, we wanted to give you today, and Pedro can put a little more emphasis on this topic, is we wanted to give you today also this viewpoint, how you can use this knowledge, this experience from us, and how you can use it in order to get a good argument when you maybe face some challenges in your company for willing to attend some course, some development program, and you're facing, or when you maybe completely want to change your direction of your position, maybe from finance to go to sales, because you suddenly find out how amazing it is to talk to people and to sell this amazing product, you know, and not just move, like numbers from left to right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to dive into a little bit more to what you said, Anna, which one aspect of it was really the investment piece, right? Of when you start creating that environment and allowing employees to really grow, and they're scared. You spoke about this. They're actually scared of losing that employee after they invested so much. So I want to give people a different perspective of that. My experience, and also experience of others. If you have the courage to understand that even though you invest in these employees and say they leave in 2 to 3 years, let's say that the fact that you're going to get so much more in those 2 years that you would have gotten out of 5 or 6 years of an employee that's not motivated, that doesn't go into their potential, doesn't do any of that is really hungry, right, to learn more and do more. But if you don't foster that kind of environment, then you're basically putting the company behind in their trajectory for those 3 years, that it takes you longer to do that. So I'd rather have an employee, I've always done this, I'd rather have an employee that will be with me for 2 years where I know I will maximize the potential that they have, right? Because I know that they will help me transform the department or departments that I have, right? And obviously, if that happens, then guess who's winning? Guess who's actually benefiting this? The organization. The organization benefits from this. So that's why don't be scared of doing that. Don't be scared of people in leaving. Because like Anna said, the number one reason, and I believe that I've seen it so much in my career, and I've hired hundreds of people. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people, right? Number one reason they leave is because of the people they report to. They're not happy. They're really the number one reason they leave. So why create that kind of environment? Don't be scared about people investing in people. Don't be scared about them leaving. If you do this right, you could maximize the potential of the organization, not just the employee. So why not do that? And that has helped me tremendously in my career accelerate the ladder pretty quickly, is really understanding that simple little fact. And that goes back to growth, allowing them to grow.
And
Okay?
you also, because when you allow somebody to grow, you allow yourself also to grow in a different direction.
Absolutely.
Because very often, especially in a huge organization, I saw that the most of people coming to a management place are just because they was very good in what they were doing. Maybe they were very good in coding and suddenly they become the manager of the team of the coder, but actually they didn't have the skills to lead the people. So in order to understand this one, so if you are this person, when you understand this one, you develop also your skill set in human connectivity, in psychology, in communication, in empathy, so it's doesn't matter on which place in your work, or whether you're self-employed, you have then the communication with your customer. You also want your customer to grow through your service and products. You don't want them to keep them small, so they stay forever your customer. For example, when I work with my power woman and, entrepreneur, I want them to maximize their potential, even if it does means that they're going to stop, because I'm self-empower them. So it means at some point of time, they will have all the tools that they need to go through this further transformation without me. And I'm fine. And I'm completely fine with it. And I grow with this also. So, and it's not just in the company, because alchemy of success, we spoke in the first episode. It's about overall success. So that means you alchemize all your areas, and when you have happy employee who is growing, this person can take this knowledge and implement it at home. So they become maybe happier relationship. So that means this person comes back to work and have way open mindset and way easy going, attitude, because at home is always also good. Or with the children, how much when I attended different personal development courses, I could implement this in all the areas of my life. I improve all my communication throughout every areas of my life, or, and that's the beauty. It's not just in one area. It's just reflecting in every area. It's just so amazing, because growth is like one of our most important traits that is anchored in our DNA, and we don't want to stop this one. And maybe, as Pedro said, his experience was that when company help their employees to grow, and even if they stay not so long, to say 2 years, 3 years, they can maximize the potential. I'm going to give you one personal story in my relationship. So we tend sometimes to go into relationships because we said everything what we do, you can implement it on your business side, but you can implement it on your personal side. And I used to have a relationship that I put a lot of effort and time and money into supporting this person to grow. And I brought him even to the country where I moved to study. I opened for this person, another doors that hadn't been there if it wasn't me. And there was a time where we get separated, and that was perfect for me. But when I experienced him with his new relationship, and I saw how mature, how way more committed, how supportive he was to the woman, I felt like this kind of, you know what I mean? I invested all this energy, all this time, also on, so somebody else can actually, pick up the whole fruits. And I can tell you something. That was my ego-driven me. And I was able to transform and change the story. Because actually what happens is I help a person to grow. I help a person to become better self and to find the right partner for him. But me also, I grow so much through this relationship. I understand so much more. What are my boundaries? What are my standards? What are my values? So I was able to get into way more aligned and beautiful relationship after that, because I went through this period where I was also growing by supporting somebody else to grow. And that is what also companies can do. When you support your employees to grow and expand and you learn, that is also important. You can learn from everyone, even from the child that is 2 years old and being in the now, because these children can be better in the present moment than we are. And when you see this, you're going to see how your company expand, how you grow, and also how the employee grow and expand. And it doesn't matter how long the path goes together or get separated,
So thank you so much, Anna, for sharing that. And I want to touch into a little more about the employee side, right? Talk about the employer, the company's perspective, all these different things. But let's talk about the employee side. So if you're listening to this, I'm telling you right now, maybe you haven't heard it from your manager, but I'll tell you, okay? All you have to do is speak. Use the power of your voice by saying the following. If you already mastered the skill sets that you need to execute what you're currently doing, and you feel like you can grow even further, right, professionally, all you have to do is speak to your manager and say, hey, I've done the following things so far in my career. Well, A, B, C, and D. I believe I've executed really well 1, 2, 3. Because I've seen my reviews, I have had gotten positive feedback, all these different things. I would like to really discuss what is the next step that I need to take to keep on growing, keep on learning, because I want the company to be successful, but I also want to be successful myself, right? So you have to take the initiative and actually speak up and put it in that fashion, because you also need to have facts, you need to have proof, right? Because you also need to be real with yourself. If you haven't been successful in your current role, more than likely they're not going to give you more things to tackle or more things to work on. So be the best that you can be. Okay. So it's been more also self-realization, and that's self-growth, right? So if you're falling a little behind, then acknowledge where you're behind and go, okay, I'm going to tackle this today, or I'm going to tackle this in the next 3 months. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be improving this. Do that for yourself. If your manager doesn't do it for you, do it for yourself. So when you're ready to have the conversation and you have proof, not only to your manager, but to yourself, that you can do something at a very high level, then you can go ahead and keep growing and keep exploring, right? When you have all of that together, then you're opening the possibility, or what we like to say in our world, the portal, but this change to actually alchemize, right? So you're opening that portal, you're opening the possibility for that to actually come to fruition. But someone has to create, someone has to start that energy. It's either your manager or yourself. So why can't it be you? All right. So always speak up obviously in a professional manner, in the proper way to communicate, which, by the way, that will also be another episode in our podcast of communication, right? Across every part of your life. So communicate, create the possibility for yourself, the opportunity to grow yourself, right? And then take it from there, one step at a time. And as you go through this entire process, I want you to go, what are my key milestones? What do I need to learn? What skill set do I need to learn? What things do I need to involve myself with to reach these goals that I've been given now? Right. And even if you don't get promoted, it doesn't matter. Here's why. Because eventually your experience will outweigh the fact that they don't have enough money to pay you, if that's what you're worried about. You know why? Because Anna said, nobody wants to lose an excellent employee. Nobody wants to lose an excellent contributor of the company's growth. So your skill set, your experience would eventually outweigh those objections, if you will. So that's why just go ahead and invest in yourself. If that's the way you can invest in your own growth, by speaking up and being real with yourself, of where you need to, be a little bit better, a little bit stronger each day. Okay. So that's what you could do at work. Now, guess what? You could also do that at home in your personal life. Right. And Anna gave an example how she was able to help her partner in all of this. Right. And therefore he was able to grow, and therefore she was able to grow. So some of us don't have partners. I have a partner. I'm lucky enough to have one, but some of us don't, right? We're single, whatever we're doing, we're focused on our careers. So your personal growth, your personal investment of time is understanding a little bit more about yourself. What are the little triggers that I have? What do I need to grow on that? Why are these people triggering me? What's happening here? What's happening there? And don't look at it from a me perspective, meaning what the world has done to me. Look at it from an outsider's perspective of what the world is trying to show me. Okay. So once again, is how you feel inside, right? Usually is what you're manifesting or creating outside of yourself. So it's not, don't blame anybody else, but just start looking within yourself and ask those questions. And that will lead to personal growth. We go back to the questions. How important are the questions? Just like how important is the question that you can ask your manager. Hey, what else do I need to do? Right. So I could get the opportunity to go ahead and keep excelling in my career. Right. What else can I take on? What else? These are the questions that I'm talking about. So questions at home, questions in your career, they're all the same thing, just with a different flavor. And obviously one hits more home is the one in your personal life, because the ones in your personal life will make you see your outside world, including your career, differently. and what you can do and how can you, be better at what you do and live a more joyful life, which is always the goal for this podcast, giving you perspectives and understanding how to mesh everything together. Okay. And Anna, would you like to add a little bit more to that?
Yeah, definitely. Now, when you share about the topic, that when I want something from my manager, or when we want something from our manager, we should put the facts and figures, what we have already achieved and so on. And I can tell you that somehow not that it didn't resonate with me, but it's created a memory within myself, how I felt, because as a woman, and women, we tend to have this capacity to see the potential and the expertise of our team. So we have this my experience was that I have a little more wider, observation of what my team members are making, doing, even if it's something extra. So I used to work in a very male dominated area, with computer science, and like IT areas. And so most of my managers, besides one, was a man. So I assumed that they must have the same perspective on how good I am, how good I did my work and how much I learned and grow and expand. So for me, when I needed to fill this list with all the topics and to give a numbers where I see myself in communication and in different stuff. So kind of to prove to my manager that I grow and that I deserve to get this promotion or to get this training and so on. It felt so bad to me. It felt like I need to prove it. And my inner understanding back there, before I go in the path of self-awareness, was he needs to know. He needs to know how good I am. He needs to be able to see, how great goals I achieved and all my experiences and how I manage my task and how I over deliver and how I'm overcommitted, because I really was, but I had the expectation that he as my manager need to be aware of this. So I don't need to prove to anybody my word,
Mm-hmm.
And when you say this, I was like, but it's like for a woman, so difficult. Because
even for people in general, that's not just a woman, it's just people in general, because they fall into the trap of the mindset or of the emotions of like, oh no, why can't they see it? Right. It's more of a reaction, to be honest with you, right? Before we start going down this path of awareness, but more of a reaction of emotions like, oh, why can't they see it? They don't value me. What's going on? And then you become a little angry or upset or whatever that is. So think of it this way, that hopefully this will help you, right? Or maybe it might have helped you back then. Is if you speak up, what you're doing is doing two things. Number one, you're empowering yourself. You're talking. You're actually putting yourself out there, putting the energy out there saying, hey, I know me. I did this. I did that. I did that. And I'm good. No, I'm good at this, and that. So you need to practice that for yourself, how it feels to be empowered. So the job is a perfect place to practice that, right? Speak up for yourself, because sometimes not everybody sees it, because some people just don't see it. It is what it is. But that is a great way to empower yourself, tap into that energy of empowerment. Number two, why that's important. And I'm telling you from a manager's perspective, if I see the employee has a voice, not only do they know themselves, like how good they are and all this stuff, or at least they know themselves where they are speaking up at the opportunity that they want to take on. That makes me more comfortable that that's a future manager, because means not only are you self-aware, but you're able to speak up, that's really, really important. As you keep going up these different levels, you have to be able to communicate. Not only communicate to your peers, communicate to your bosses. We all report to somebody, right? Even the CEO reports to the board. So communicate, and communicate to the people that are supporting you. So to me, that's also important because not only do they have self-confidence, but they're able to communicate, speak what's in their mind. That separates a lot of people. That separates so
Where
many
have
people.
you been? So I will be very vulnerable with a situation.
Mhm.
Okay. So,
Does that resonate, Anna? Does that resonate with
definitely, definitely. That was like, that's why I'm asking where you have been to,
you? Mhm.
because, I was a very young, project manager, and I took over a project that was deeply, deeply red, where 3 project manager already left the project for different reasons. And I came in, all of them was men, very experienced, many, many years. And I was just starting in the area of project management, and I took over the project and I really focused on creating a good relationship with a customer, but also creating a stronger team because I saw that the team was way too distributed between the countries and they didn't exchange the knowledge. So that was like one of my main goals is to really self-empower the team, that they exchange this knowledge and they can be, when somebody's sick, the other one can help them and so on. What happens in this time is we brought the project from deep red to like yellow greeny, so customer was getting more happy. We were about to roll out everything. But as life happens, it happens that I separated from my husband at this time. So actually at the go live date, I wasn't able to be on site there. And also the few weeks before and after I did my job to 100%, but as I was delivering before like 120, 150, my team and the customer saw a difference. But of course, I wasn't able to communicate this one. Nor with neither with my manager nor with the team, because it was very personal situation that I needed to go through, and first for me to navigate through this situation. So what happens is right after the go live, because I wasn't able to join this weekend as I need to take care of my child, the customer called my manager and they said they want to have another project manager because the last few weeks I wasn't being so over delivering as before. And the topic was, because I went on this growth and personal development path, I was able to let go of the emotion that came up because I find it pretty unfair, and I communicated with my team and I share with my team what the situation is. And they told me, why you didn't tell me? And I say, that was so personal. So it wasn't something that I wanted to share before everything settled. And I feel also myself calm with the situation. So my team understood it. I talked to my manager. It was also okay for him. And then I went back to the customer and I sit with them and I just asked them, okay, can you please tell me what are the qualities you look for the next project manager? So when I'm giving this project to the new project manager, this person can deliver you what you're looking for. So I didn't say I feel unfair, and judge. I was very professional. And, I also give them some feedback. I asked, can I give you also some feedback? And I gave them some feedback on the part where I was missing communication from their side. And what happens actually is that after this conversation, they went back to my manager and they say they want to keep me. So it will be way too much, stress to change me and so on and so on. And that is where, like you said, I put these facts and I communicated. But what I didn't do is, few months later, when we were talking about increasing salaries, so promotion, and I was sitting with my manager, and he told me because of the situation that the customer complained about me and they wanted to change me, and because they go above levels, and because that was one of the projects that brought the most revenue into the region, and I was responsible for this, they decided not to give me so much promotion because the customer wasn't happy. And I didn't speak up for myself. And I didn't say, I over deliver. I brought the project from red to, like you said, if I had put these facts and figures and they say, I want to go and to reassess it again, I think would have been better. But instead I reacted very emotional. I was really disappointed. I was like, you know what? You can take it. I don't want to have anything of that. I was like really pissed off. And what actually happened is I changed departments after that.
That's unfortunate.
So, and that's why I was saying, where have you been 2008? And, if you're listening this, sometimes it's good to be in a feminine energy or the traits. And sometimes it's also good to just understand why it's important also to have this masculine traits and quality, like putting data and facts and to let go the emotions aside,
Absolutely. And another important point that you reminded me, Anna, is don't wait until that annual review. Don't wait, because this is part of communication, right? Which we'll be discussing into a deeper topic in the future. You have the ability to speak up at any point in time. And you should, because when you start building that communication bridge between you and your manager, then you're able to properly convey, because it's fresh in your mind. That's why it's important. You properly convey, hey, this is what I've done so far in the last 3 months. I'm really excited. Is there anything else that you might want me to work on, like a new initiative, right? In the next 3 to 6 months, right? Like, how am I doing? Like, and you could give them their feedback. Hey, I don't feel enough supported. And these are the reasons why I don't feel supported. Can you just explain to me? Remember, it's a two-way communication. It's not a one-way, but you just have to speak the right way, ask the right questions. That's all you need to do. They won't take any offense to it.
But I was growing there and I was afraid, or I didn't felt like I have the right anytime to reach out to my manager and to talk about that, so I was growing into this position, into this situation and into navigating this different areas, and, I was one of 3 women in a team of like over 20 people. So you don't want to be, back there, that was just my limiting beliefs. It was my subconscious mind. Let me say it what it is. It was my programming of like, okay, you need to be a little more silent. Not that I've been a silent person, but, not always on the right spot with the right, facts and figures, to say it this way.
Yeah.
Somebody like you as a mentor back there would have been given me another perspective, because I had the perspective authority. I hate authority. So that's my personality, because freedom is my highest value. And authority is for me something that is against the freedom. So everybody who for me was representing authority was against my highest value. I didn't knew it. It was subconscious reaction. And that is so important to observe this situation and to have somebody neutral as a mentor who has nothing to do with the one person or the other, and just, and also to be someone from the opposite gender, because I think women, when we need to learn how to navigate more our emotion, but we also need to learn how to integrate these masculine traits in how to understand how men communicate with more masculine energy and how women communicate with more feminine energy. And I had almost every time a man as a manager. So I needed to learn how they communicate. That is nothing personally. And I took it every time personally.
Yep. And I completely understand. And it's not, remember, communication is 2 parts, right? Not just speaking, but also, am I really listening? Or what am I listening to, right? So there's a lot of different aspects of communication, both in the corporate setting and in the personal setting, meaning at home, right? So there's so many things. This topic is very huge. So we're not going to discuss it here.
No, we don't go to the rabbit hole. Not today, but we're going to take it, because it's a part of the growth.
100%.
And actually,
100%.
Back there, I should have requested, can I have like a trainings for communication on on a different levels and so on. So communication skills. I learned it after that, like I started from 20 going deep into the communication path. But back there, I was like the furious Annie in my subconscious mind that just reacted.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay though. Hey, Anna, it's okay. It's an experience. So it's an experience, and that's what we're here to talk about is how do we meld these different experiences, right? And if this resonates with you because something you've been going through or something that you're going through right now, actually, not just the past, try to see the other side of it. Don't just let your emotions take over in certain times of your life. Just try to step back. I know it's frustrating as infuriating and it can be, but remember you are empowered sovereign human being. So you have the ability to speak up. Just speak up. But the way you speak will also help the other person learn how to listen. So it affects who and how they listen, depending on the words that you use. And the same thing is how do you listen also depends on the environment that you're creating for your employee. Because if they don't feel empowered to have this communication with you, then are you really listening to the employee? So are you really doing what's best for the organization? Because in the end, it's all about reaching the goals, right? So if you're not fostering that beautiful environment for the person, the employee to speak up, then how are you going to know what really motivates them? How are you going to know what they're really good at, right? Or where they need a little work, just a little help, right? So learning how to listen is absolutely critical as well as part of your growth. 100%. Firm believer in that.
Definitely. First, I want to tell you something. If you are watching this episode till here, I want to congratulate yourself because what actually you're doing, you're growing. That is what you're doing. You could have decided now to, put a Netflix and chill, and have something. It doesn't mean that I don't do it, but, it means you can do it in a balance, and if you are listening to us to now, that means that you take your personal growth and expansion and development really serious. And for this one, we want to really to tell you from the bottom of our heart, congratulations. You're on the right path because no matter whether you get the support or not in your company or you're giving the support or not, depending on where you stay in your, employment situation, just by taking the initiative to find the right resources for you to grow and expand, it's showing you that you have the leader within you, and you are taking the responsibility. So responsibility means you have the ability to respond. That means no matter what happens in the world outside, you're growing and expanding so you can respond and not react. What is a completely different way? Because responding is something that is a conscious decision, how I want to respond to situation. Reaction is a trigger, like we spoke last time in the first episode, that comes from our subconscious mind. That is something we have learned on some level in our life that triggers emotions, or something happens from outside. A thought comes in your mind, an emotion is triggered through this thought, and you have the reaction. And that is not a responding. That is a reaction. So by taking the responsibility for your own self-awareness and growth, it's the best thing you can do in your life in every single area. So for this one, really, really, I just want to give you like, a huge thumbs up for that. Definitely. That was for me very important to share because I had a company that really invested a lot into the talent development, so far that actually I was willing, as I shared last time, to go to this thing and to really go on higher level, senior level management, C-level, and really bring the topic of emotional intelligence, like more of this feminine traits and not just numbers and facts and deadlines and so on. That was for me, for example, very important. And I started also expanding and growing by myself. I booked some courses. I joined some workshop. I joined coaching's, expertise and so on. So you have nowadays so much materials like this podcast, Alchemy of Success. It's something that brings you value and helps you expand and grow. So even if you have some challenges in your company or where you're working or with your employee and so on, you can use all these materials to grow and expand, but please don't stop. Don't go into the victimhood mentality. And I can tell you it's not a good mentality, because sometimes when my reaction hit it, and there was this hidden, small Annie within me that was like, oh, it's not fair. Oh, that's not fair. And starting judging and like shitting like it. No, it needs to be some other ways. It never helped me. The only person I heard it was myself. My manager, he didn't bother. He had his own agenda, and it hurted me. So to learn to really to take the responsibility, the ability to respond, and like Pedro said, to learn how to communicate. Because when you come with facts, then it's difficult to get a no.
The objections
When you come with emotions, and that is the difference when we need to learn where to go with the feminine traits and where to have more masculine. For example, by a discussion with a leader, with a manager, it's important to bring the facts on the table, to bring the expertise on the table, and not to bring the emotions and the anger and the frustration, because that doesn't help much, it can maybe create more challenges. So you're going to see here on the podcast, we're going to give you a different perspective. Where is good maybe to put more masculine traits or to emphasize this, and where is good more to embody the feminine traits. For example, me as a manager, sitting there and having somebody and asking me, and imagine I don't have the budget, for example. I need to bring a lot of empathy and compassion and understanding, and maybe try to navigate and find another way how I can support my employee, my team member, to somehow get the growth, even if I don't have the budget, So that is, for example, would be me as a leader to navigate this situation if the budget is short, and to find another way. For example, my manager really gave me some private tips for growth and expansion. That has nothing to do with the program set up in the company, because she knew my hunger to grow and expand. So she supported me where she could. So it's like, it's a game. It's a game.
Yeah. And it's important to understand those opportunities when they actually exist. So that's why it's also becoming more self-aware of what's happening around you, your environment, what's happening at work, right? What's happening in your personal life. So when we keep talking about consciousness, is really expanding that awareness. In simplicity, that's really what it is, expanding the awareness of the self, how we all fit into this world, but also awareness of how we deal with ourselves, how we respond to Anna's point, right? And how do we communicate? How do we interact with other individuals? That's the self-awareness that we need to put in every aspect of our lives, including at work. So if you're the employee and you feel like you have more to give, don't go with the mindset that they owe you something. Don't go there. Don't go with a mindset, oh, I need to prove them wrong. Don't go with a mindset of being frustrated. Go with a mindset of the infinite possibilities of what you can be. And if you go with that mindset, you will understand and realize where you actually are today. Because that's what being present means, is who am I today? What am I today? What am I doing? Right? Who am I? And then you come to the reality of what you need to work on to be better at what you want to achieve, what you want to become. Because remember, I know this may sound a little weird and strange, but you already are that person. You're just going through the process and the experience of what it means to be that person. So just look at that step by step, day by day, and see, how can I be better today? Okay. That is growth.
And alchemy, in this case, means take not only the ups and the success, but takes the downs and alchemize it to a gold. Because I can tell you personally, and I'm pretty sure Pedro can confirm it for himself also, is my biggest growth, my largest expansion in consciousness, in self-awareness, in every area was coming from my deepest lows. From the moments where I felt angry, frustrated, guilty, sometimes ashamed, whatever. When I allowed to change the story that I was telling about this situation and to observe it, because remember, 5% consciousness, 95% subconscious. That means I wasn't aware I was doing it. So first I needed to get in observation set and see how are you actually acting? What are you talking? Why do you react like that? And after that, I judged myself. I was like the worst judge ever, so not other person can judge us so bad as we do it to ourselves sometimes, and to learn to be judgmental free, compassion, and to change the story that I'm telling myself. Wow. That is where the magic starts. That is where the alchemy starts. It's just so simple, actually. Change the story around the fact or an experience and it alchemize to a gold, to a diamond. Oh, it feels so good.
Absolutely. And that is exactly what rewiring of the subconscious means too. You just explained it, right? Exactly what the outcome is, but also what's happening inside your brain is exactly what Anna is saying. You're changing that memory. You're changing that perspective. You're changing that thing. So therefore the emotion also changes. Therefore you maybe, instead of sadness, you're creating drive, creating optimism, right? So it's alchemizing those different energies together, understanding these different events and different experiences and making it something that's more profound and more, how do I say this? More inviting to really step into the best version of yourself. So that's really what it is and how beautiful it can be.
So maybe you can take the topic of today and to start alchemizing these areas around growth for you, your employees, leaders, manager, no matter where you stay. And we hope you get something valuable or at least had fun with us. If so, give us a thumb. So you help with this. When you give us a thumb, you help also that other people had the opportunity to see this podcast and to learn and expand. And if you're not following us, of course, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell, this one to remind you. Otherwise, I'm going to find you, So I know where you are. I know where your house is living. And drop in the comments, maybe, what is your current attitude to the topic of growth? Oh, that will be really interesting. Put in the comments, what is your current attitude to the topic of growth and maybe how you were able to switch it a little throughout this conversation.
Mm-hmm. And as always, any other topics you're interested in, just drop them there. Just keep feeding us and we'll keep talking about it and sharing our experiences. And like Anna said, hopefully something resonates with you and you get a little something out of it in your day. So.
And even if it's a reminder, just, because the most expensive sentence in the world is I know. Because every time when I said I know, I needed to check with myself. Do I really know it? Because knowing means I heard about that. I read about that. I heard it 2 or 3 or 5 or 100 times, but I truly, deeply embody it and anchor it into my subconscious mind. And I live by this premise. That is the knowingness. That is where to say I know. So please, if you can give you today one present, one gift is to take this sentence, I know, and just write it through. And see you next week, Wednesday, back to your favorite show, The Alchemy of Success, with me, Anna Eisen.
And Pedro Mejia.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.